90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After star Michael Ilisanmi has once again become the subject of widespread discussion among fans, but this time the conversation surrounding him feels entirely transformed. For years, Michael was portrayed as the submissive, endlessly patient husband trapped in a chaotic and emotionally draining marriage with Angela Deem. Viewers watched season after season as he absorbed insults, endured public humiliation, and struggled to maintain composure while being spoken to in ways many fans found deeply disturbing. Now, however, Michael appears to be stepping into a new phase of his life, one defined not by fear or restraint, but by quiet confidence and personal liberation. Rather than issuing explosive interviews or launching direct attacks against his estranged wife, Michael has chosen a subtler yet far more impactful method of expression. Through carefully selected social media posts and symbolic gestures, he has begun telling his story on his own terms. As he celebrates his second Christmas in America, Michael presents himself as a man who is no longer apologizing for surviving. The transformation is evident not just in his words, but in his demeanor, his environment, and the growing sense that he is finally in control of his own narrative. Michael, originally from Nigeria, officially began living in the United States in December 2023, marking the end of one of the longest and most emotionally exhausting immigration journeys ever documented in the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. Fans followed him through years of uncertainty, repeated visa denials, and extended separations from Angela, all while watching his marriage deteriorate in real time. Throughout that process, Michael remained hopeful, clinging to the belief that once he reached America, stability and peace would follow. That belief, however, proved to be both accurate and misleading. While Michael's life did change dramatically after arriving in the U.S., the improvement did not come from the marriage he fought so hard to preserve. Instead, it came from walking away from it. Currently, Michael appears to be living in Houston, Texas, a considerable distance from the rural Georgia town where he once lived with Angela. According to social media clues and fan observations, he now resides alone in a clean, modern apartment, an environment that feels like the physical embodiment of a fresh start. The contrast between his current living situation and Angela's cluttered, smoke-filled home in Hazelhurst is striking. Fans have been quick to point out how different Michael looks now, calmer, healthier, and visibly more at ease. When Michael lived with Angela, he shared her home with her daughters, Scotty and Skyla Deem, as well as their 6 children. The household was overcrowded and constantly tense, leaving little room for privacy or emotional safety. For someone who had just arrived in a foreign country, the lack of personal space and constant conflict made adjustment nearly impossible. Viewers repeatedly expressed concern over Michael's well-being, especially given Angela's history of aggressive confrontations, both on-screen and off. Those concerns escalated dramatically when Michael accused Angela of cruel and abusive behavior shortly before he mysteriously disappeared from her home. Angela quickly went public, claiming she had no idea where Michael was and portraying herself as a victim of abandonment. However, many fans found her version of events difficult to believe. Years of footage documenting verbal abuse, threats, and controlling behavior had already shaped public perception. When Michael eventually resurfaced, safe, independent, and clearly separated from Angela, the narrative shifted almost instantly. What Angela described as abandonment, fans increasingly viewed as escape. The idea that Michael had fled an unsafe environment resonated deeply with viewers who had long feared for his emotional well-being. As December 2024 approached, it became increasingly clear that Michael had no intention of returning to that life. Instead, he began sharing moments from a new chapter, celebrating the holiday season with friends he now considers family. These were people who supported him during a deeply painful transition, offering companionship, understanding, and stability when he needed it most. For Michael, Christmas no longer represented obligation or conflict, but survival and freedom. Looking toward 2025, Michael appears determined to focus on growth rather than revenge. Instead of engaging in public feuds, he has adopted a calm yet pointed strategy, letting symbolism do the talking. One Instagram story in particular caught immediate attention. The reel, originally posted by @WomenInspireChange, featured a scene from the classic sitcom Seinfeld. In the clip, Elaine Bennis, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, raises a glass and declares, "Here's to those who wish us well, and those who don't can go to hell," before laughing unapologetically. The quote, delivered with humor and confidence, has long been interpreted as a declaration of self-respect. By reposting the clip, Michael sent a message that required no explanation. Fans immediately understood it as a ruthless yet indirect response to Angela, a signal that he is no longer afraid, no longer submissive, and no longer seeking validation from someone who once controlled his every move. The laughter at the end of the clip felt especially significant, symbolizing emotional release and finality. What Michael Ilisami's 2025 mantra means amid legal battle. The timing of Michael's post is particularly meaningful, given his ongoing legal situation with Angela. While much of the case remains private, it is widely known that their separation involves complex legal and immigration-related matters. Despite this uncertainty, Michael's calm presence suggests a man who finally feels protected, both legally and emotionally. Throughout 2024, Michael received overwhelming support from fans who rallied behind him whenever Angela appeared to cross a line. That support may have been unexpected, especially considering how isolated he seemed while living under Angela's control. At one point, he was discouraged from using social media entirely. While Angela claimed it was to prevent cheating, many fans believe it was also a tactic to isolate him from public support. Once free, Michael discovered the extent of his fan base. Supporters dismissed accusations labeling him a scammer and largely ignored rumors about his personal life. To them, none of that mattered. What mattered was that Michael survived a toxic relationship and deserved happiness. Our take on Michael Ilisami's 2025 mantra amid legal battle. Michael has always leaned toward positivity, even in moments of deep personal struggle. Calm, respectful, and hopeful, he often stood in sharp contrast to Angela's explosive behavior. Recently, however, he has embraced a more confident edge. His passive-aggressive social media posts may be subtle, but they are intentional. Most importantly, Michael no longer appears afraid. The fear of deportation, retaliation, or control seems to be gone. America is now his home, and he is moving forward with clarity and self-respect. Whether Angela approves or not is no longer relevant. Michael has raised his glass, laughed, and stepped fully into a future that belongs to him. 90 Day Fiancé's Michael Ilisami reveals ruthless message for Angela Deem amid legal battle after leaving her filthy home. 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After star Michael Ilisami has once again found himself at the center of intense fan discussion, but this time the narrative surrounding him feels dramatically different from anything viewers have seen before. After years of being portrayed as the quiet, patient, and often emotionally battered partner in his volatile marriage to Angela Deem, Michael is finally speaking, if not directly, then through carefully chosen messages that say more than words ever could. As he celebrates his second Christmas in America, Michael appears more confident, more independent, and far more unapologetic than the man audiences once watched endure endless shouting matches, accusations, and public humiliation. Michael, who originally hails from Nigeria, has officially been living in the United States since December 2023. His long-awaited arrival marked the end of a grueling immigration journey that was documented extensively on the 90 Day Fiancé franchise. For years, fans watched Michael struggle through visa denials, long periods of separation, and Angela's explosive temper, all while holding on to the hope that once he reached America, his life would finally improve. Now, nearly a year later, it appears that hope may have been justified, though not in the way anyone expected. At present, Michael seems to be residing in Houston, Texas, far away from the chaos of his former life in rural Georgia. He is reportedly living alone in a cozy, contemporary apartment that stands in stark contrast to the cramped and often criticized conditions of Angela's home in Hazelhurst. The visual difference alone has not been lost on fans, many of whom have pointed out that Michael finally appears to be in an environment that reflects peace, cleanliness, and personal dignity. Gone are the cluttered rooms, cigarette smoke, and constant tension. In their place is a quiet, modern space that feels like a fresh start. Before his dramatic departure, Michael lived with Angela in her small Georgia town alongside her 2 daughters, Scotty and Skyla Deem, as well as their 6 children. The household was crowded, loud, and frequently tense, a situation that seemed overwhelming for someone who had just arrived in a new country. Viewers often expressed concern over how Michael was treated in that home, especially given Angela's history of aggressive behavior both on and off camera. Those concerns grew even louder when Michael later accused Angela of cruel and abusive treatment before he mysteriously went missing from her house, an incident that quickly became a major talking point within the fandom. Angela, for her part, publicly claimed she had no idea where Michael had gone and painted herself as the victim, suggesting that he had abandoned her without explanation. However, many fans were quick to question her version of events, especially given the long record of explosive arguments, threats, and emotional manipulation that had played out over multiple seasons of the show. When Michael eventually resurfaced, safe, independent, and clearly distanced from Angela, it became increasingly difficult to ignore the possibility that his disappearance was less of an abandonment and more of an escape. As December 2024 rolled around, it became clear that Michael had no intention of returning to his old life. Instead, he began sharing glimpses of his plans to celebrate Christmas in a big, joyful way, alongside the friends he now considers his chosen family. These are people who supported him during one of the most difficult transitions of his life, offering companionship, stability, and encouragement when he needed it most. For Michael, this holiday season represents far more than festive decorations or gift-giving. It symbolizes survival, freedom, and the beginning of a new chapter. Looking ahead, Michael has already begun setting his sights on 2025, a year he seems determined to make his own. Rather than dwelling on the past or engaging in public mudslinging, he has chosen a subtler yet far more effective approach, letting his actions and carefully curated social media posts speak for him. Recently, Michael shared an Instagram reel to his stories that immediately caught the attention of fans. Though he did not mention Angela by name, the message was impossible to misinterpret. The reel, originally posted by @WomenInspiredChange, features a memorable scene from the iconic sitcom Seinfeld. In the clip, Elaine, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, raises a glass during a Peterman Company party in the 1996 episode The Little Kicks. With impeccable comedic timing, Elaine declares, "Here's to those who wish us well and those who don't can go to H," before bursting into laughter. The line, delivered with confidence and zero remorse, has long been celebrated as a bold expression of self-assurance and emotional release. For Michael, the quote clearly struck a chord. By reposting it, he appeared to send a ruthless yet indirect message to his estranged wife, one that suggested he is no longer interested in appeasing her, fearing her reactions, or living under her control. The laughter at the end of the clip felt especially telling, as if to emphasize that whatever power Angela once held over him is now gone. Fans quickly interpreted the post as Michael's way of drawing a firm boundary and making it clear that he is done explaining himself. What Michael Ilisami's 2025 mantra means amid legal battle. Michael's choice to share this message takes on even greater significance when viewed through the lens of his ongoing legal situation with Angela. While details of their legal battle remain largely private, it is widely understood that the two are navigating a complicated separation that involves immigration concerns, financial disputes, and years of emotional baggage. In the midst of all this, Michael's apparent calm and optimism suggest a man who feels protected both legally and emotionally for the first time in a very long while. Above all else, Michael seems deeply grateful for the overwhelming support he has received from fans throughout 2024. Time and time again, viewers have rallied behind him whenever Angela appeared to wrong him, offering encouragement, donations, and messages of solidarity. This outpouring of support may have surprised even Michael himself, especially considering how isolated he once seemed while living under Angela's roof. There was a time when Michael was asked, if not outright pressured, to stay away from social media by his estranged wife. Angela claimed her reasoning was rooted in fear that Michael might cheat on her or engage in inappropriate conversations online. However, many fans now believe there may have been another motive behind that demand: control. By keeping Michael off social media, Angela could limit his access to public opinion and prevent him from seeing just how many viewers recognized her behavior as abusive and unacceptable. Once free from those restrictions, Michael quickly learned that he was not alone. Fans defended him against accusations, dismissed claims that he was a scammer, and refused to believe narratives that painted him as manipulative or dishonest. Even when rumors circulated that Michael had used GoFundMe money to purchase a car, or that he had started dating someone new in America, supporters largely stood by him. To them, these details were insignificant compared to the years of emotional distress he had endured. What mattered most was Michael's happiness, and many fans firmly believe he deserves every bit of it after escaping what they view as a deeply toxic relationship. The loyalty of his supporters appears to have given Michael a renewed sense of confidence and self-worth, empowering him to move forward without constantly defending himself. Through his subtle yet pointed social media activity, Michael seems to be communicating one final message to Angela. She no longer controls the narrative, and she no longer controls him. Whether she spreads rumors, expresses anger, or attempts to provoke a reaction, Michael's response is silence paired with self-assurance. The Elaine Bennis quote was not just a joke, it was a declaration. Our take on Michael Ilisami's 2025 mantra. Michael has always been known for spreading positivity through his content, even during the darkest moments of his marriage. His demeanor has typically been calm, respectful, and hopeful, often serving as a sharp contrast to Angela's explosive energy. That said, Michael has also shown that he is capable of being snarky when the situation calls for it, and lately he seems far more comfortable embracing that side of himself. Over the past several months, Michael has shared a series of passive-aggressive posts on his Instagram stories, many of which fans believe are subtle jabs at Angela. These posts are never overtly hostile, but their timing and tone leave little doubt about their intended audience. Rather than engaging in public arguments or interviews, Michael has chosen wit and restraint, a strategy that appears to resonate strongly with his followers. Most importantly, Michael seems confident that Angela can no longer harm him in any meaningful way. The fear that once dominated his actions, fear of angering her, fear of jeopardizing his immigration status, fear of being cut off from resources, appears to be gone. He knows that deportation is no longer a realistic threat, and that knowledge alone has likely lifted an enormous emotional weight from his shoulders. America is now Michael's home, and all signs suggest it will remain so well beyond 2024. Regardless of how Angela feels about that reality, Michael is moving forward with intention, optimism, and a clear sense of self. If his ex wishes him ill, he seems content to raise a metaphorical glass, echo Elaine Bennis's iconic words, and laugh his way into a future that finally belongs to him. 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After star Michael Ilesanmi issued a warning to Angela Deem as he celebrates his second Christmas in America. Michael, from Nigeria, has been in the U.S. since December 2023. Michael currently seems to be living in Houston, Texas, all by himself in a cozy, contemporary apartment. He lived with Angela in her small town of Hazelhurst, with her 2 daughters, Scotty and Skyla Deem, and their 6 children. However, Michael accused Angela of cruel treatment before going missing from her house. In December 2024, Michael already has plans to celebrate Christmas in a big way with the friends he considers his new family, and he's already looking ahead to 2025. Michael is now sharing what he wishes to do in 2025. He posted an interesting reel on his Instagram stories with an indirect jab at his ex. The post by @WomenInspireChange features Elaine Bennis from Seinfeld, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Elaine can be seen making a toast during a Peterman Company party during the Little Kicks episode from 1996. She says, "Here's to those who wish us well, and those who don't can go to hell," before bursting out in a laugh. Elaine's quote seems to have resonated with Michael, who posted this as a ruthless message to his ex. What Michael Ilesanmi's 2025 mantra means amid legal battle. Michael is most grateful for his fans in 2024 who have his back whenever Angela has wronged him. He might not have known the extent of his popularity when he was asked to stay away from social media by his estranged wife. Angela claimed it was because she didn't want Michael to cheat on her, but she might have also done that so he couldn't read comments from fans bashing Angela for being abusive towards Michael. Michael only wishes the best to his fans who have supported him through thick and thin and don't get bothered when Angela tries to spread rumors about him being a scammer. They don't care that Michael might have purchased a car with the GoFundMe money they gave him or that he has a girlfriend in America. Fans want him to be happy as he deserves all the happiness after escaping a toxic relationship. Meanwhile, Michael is subtly telling Angela about what he thinks of her now that she no longer controls him. Our take on Michael Ilesanmi's 2025 mantra. Michael always likes to spread positive vibes using his content. However, he can also be snarky when he wants to. Michael has been sharing passive-aggressive posts on his Instagram stories for a while now, and they always seem to be taking jabs at Angela. He is confident that she can do him no harm now, and especially can't get him deported. America is his home now, and will be after 2024, even if his 90 Day Fiancé Happily Ever After ex wishes the worst for him.